By 2035, owning a gas-powered car in most countries will be flat out illegal. The car industry is going through the biggest transformation it has seen in over 100 years, and most people have no idea how fast it's actually happening. In just 10 years, the way we buy, drive, and think about cars will look completely different from today. Stick around because what's coming will genuinely surprise you. The gas car is dying faster than you think. Let's start with the thing nobody wants to admit out loud. Right now, over 90 countries have either announced or are actively planning a full ban on new petrol and diesel car sales by 2035. The UK, the entire European Union, Canada, Japan, they're all on the list. China, the largest car market on the planet, is pushing hard in the same direction. And the numbers back this up. In 2020, electric vehicles made up roughly 4% of global car sales. By 2024, that number had already jumped past 18%. Analysts at Bloomberg project that by 2035, EVs will account for nearly 70% of all new car sales worldwide. That's not a slow shift. That's a complete overhaul. The internal combustion engine had a good run, over 130 years. But the clock is ticking loudly now, and the countdown is almost over. But here's where it gets really interesting. What EVs in 2035 actually look like. Forget everything you think you know about electric cars being slow, boring, or limited. The EVs of 2035 are going to be in a completely different league. Solid-state batteries, the technology that battery engineers have been chasing for decades, are finally arriving at scale. Companies like Toyota, Samsung SDI, and QuantumScape are already producing early versions. By 2035, solid-state batteries are expected to give cars a range of over 600 miles on a single charge. That's London to Edinburgh and back without stopping once. Charging? We're talking about 10 minutes for an 80% charge. Not 30, not 45. 10 minutes, roughly the time it takes to grab a coffee and use the restroom. And the weight problem that plagued early EVs is being solved too. New battery chemistries are dramatically lighter, which means cars handle better, accelerate faster, and use energy more efficiently. The best electric sedans in 2035 are projected to hit 60 miles per hour in under 2 seconds, a speed that only exotic supercars could touch just a few years ago. These aren't concept cars. These are production vehicles heading to showrooms. Speed and range are impressive, but the real story is what happens inside the car. The cockpit of 2035, open, self-driving, how far we've actually come. Fully autonomous driving has been 5 years away for about 15 years now. So let's be honest about where things actually stand and where they are genuinely headed. By 2035, most new vehicles will come equipped with Level 3 or Level 4 autonomy as standard. What that means in real terms, the car can handle highways, city traffic, lane changes, and parking entirely on its own. You can legally take your hands off the wheel and your eyes off the road for extended periods on approved roads. Companies like Waymo, Tesla, Mercedes, and Mobileye are already operating fully driverless vehicles in controlled environments. Waymo's robotaxis have completed over 20 million fully autonomous miles in public traffic. The technology works. The challenge right now is regulation, liability, and public trust, not engineering. By 2030, multiple countries are expected to fully legalize Level 4 autonomy on major highways. By 2035, urban environments in progressive cities will see widespread deployment. For long road trips, this is genuinely life-changing. Imagine setting off from one city to another overnight. Your car drives while you sleep, and you wake up at your destination. No fatigue, no accidents from drowsy driving, just arrived. Road fatalities are projected to drop by up to 90% once autonomous vehicles dominate traffic. That's not a small statistic. That's millions of lives. And it's not just how cars drive, it's how you'll own them. Ownership is changing completely. Here's something that might actually hurt the feelings of car enthusiasts. By 2035, a large portion of people in cities won't own a car at all, because it simply won't make sense anymore. Autonomous ride-sharing fleets, think Uber, but without the driver and a fraction of the cost, will be so cheap and so reliable that keeping a personal vehicle parked 95% of the time will feel wasteful. Studies from the Rocky Mountain Institute estimate that shared autonomous EVs could cost as little as 25 cents per mile to operate by the mid-2030s. That's cheaper than the per mile cost of owning, insuring, and maintaining a car yourself. For people who do still want personal ownership, the buying experience itself is transforming. Physical dealerships are already declining sharply. By 2035, most cars will be bought entirely online, configured to order, and delivered directly to your home, the same way you'd order furniture today. Software updates will add features to your car over the air, the same way your phone gets new capabilities after a software update. You might buy a car with basic assisted driving features in 2035, then unlock enhanced autonomy a year later through a subscription or one-time purchase. No new vehicle required. The car becomes a product that keeps evolving long after you've bought it. Here's the part that genuinely moves me. What this means for the planet and for people. Transportation is responsible for roughly 24% of global carbon dioxide emissions. It is one of the heaviest contributors to climate change we have. The shift to electric vehicles isn't just about cool technology or faster acceleration. It's one of the most meaningful climate interventions we can actually pull off at scale. By 2035, if projections hold, we will have removed the equivalent of hundreds of millions of petrol-powered vehicles from roads globally. The air in cities that have historically choked on exhaust, places like Delhi, Cairo, Jakarta, Karachi, will measurably improve. Studies already show that in cities where EV adoption is high, childhood asthma rates have started to decline. Noise pollution drops too. Electric motors are nearly silent. Imagine a city street at rush hour with almost no engine noise, just tires on the road and the ambient sound of people and life. There's something quietly powerful about that image. And for younger generations growing up today, kids who are 10 or 12 years old right now, a petrol car will be something they remember vaguely from childhood, the way people today remember cassette tapes or dial-up internet. Not with nostalgia. Petrol car resale values are already softening in Europe and parts of Asia as buyers anticipate the bans. Analysts at UBS predict that by 2030, resale values for petrol vehicles in countries with ban legislation will fall sharply, potentially losing 40 to 50% more value than equivalent EVs over the same ownership period. If you're holding on to a petrol car, you don't need to panic, but you need a plan. For first-time buyers or people replacing a vehicle, the EV options available right now are better than they have ever been, and they're only accelerating in quality and affordability. Entry-level electric vehicles in 2024 are already highly capable. The ones arriving in 2026 and 2027 will be significantly better again. Home charging infrastructure is still the biggest practical barrier for many people, particularly in apartment buildings and older neighborhoods. This is worth solving now if you're serious about making the switch. Many governments still offer meaningful subsidies for home charger installation. The window to get ahead of this curve is still open, but it won't be for long. The future of cars isn't some distant sci-fi fantasy. It's being built right now, in factories in China, Germany, South Korea, and the United States. The engineers working on it are not waiting. The legislation is already written. The only question is whether you'll be ready when it arrives or whether you'll be playing catch-up. Drop your biggest question about EVs in the comments and subscribe because we're just getting started.